Are we ready? Teresa, which is on. It's on. They're ready. Should we see it? Well, you gotta turn the video on. How do we turn the video? We have to click on that. It's the meeting. Start the meeting. Okay, yeah. See where it says video. Upside down. Like it just. I don't know, I can't. To the menu, they have a plan. Stan, are we on YouTube then? Go ahead and hit the heart. That's not what I did. Why did it's already started.
Yeah, it's on. You don't have to click on anything else. It's on, it's up, it's ready. Yeah. It's on, it might be 90. Oh, you just do it. Yeah, they can figure out. That's fine. Start meeting.
All right. I don't know if you have a copy of these or not. The council approved funding for the new station. Why is that not fun? Yeah, that is not too.
That's on.
This. That one's not.
Okay.
Decided on the copier. The new job description for the position, that will be BZA like 3 days a week, planning commission 2 days a week. But a full-time position.
January 1st.
Yeah, starting January 1st.
I guess since we got a couple of council members here, would that, I mean, we're under a hiring freeze right now, would that?
We approved that.
Okay, up to you guys, ultimately.
Yeah, I should say we approved it contingent on you approving it was.
So next year, their budget for next year is structured to incorporate this position.
Yeah.
And is this eliminating a part-timer that's
No,
present? So we'll still
Well, it's eliminating the part-time position, but.
converting it.
It's converting
Okay.
it to a full-time position.
Okay, well,
Between Todd and Bose, I had a lot of discussion with them too. It sounds like there's gonna be between the piers being inspected, then other things that they want to try to do in the office. Sounds like,
Yeah,
there's plenty of
we're
work.
looking at a lot more permits coming next
it's not
year.
even come forward.
Yeah. That's something we're in the works on, getting that up and going.
Might be the boat off, but not the other.
Right.
But the supervision for that Cassandra position, even though it's, the duties are split between the BZA and planning commission, it's still supervised by
Yeah.
both.
Still structured the same, yep. You made the motion.
Somebody, yeah,
I said you made a motion.
I needed one.
I feel like we've talked about it a few times doing this, so it's.
Yeah, I mean, just alone on like, for instance, one lake, we're talking, just Bath Lake has over 400 piers. And each pier is gonna need a permit every year that it gets put in now.
Yeah, I think it was brought up previous to that even, so.
That one's bigger. This one has. Basically, it's just it's gonna be an extension of what she's currently doing now.
Mhm. Okay.
We converted the one part-time to full-time. Apparently there's been an increase in workload. You've been working with these boards long enough, I'll defer to your judgment on this.
I know I've had a few BZA members reach out to me saying, hey, we need to do this.
The BZA has actually passed this and has wanted this
Mhm.
for like the past 5 years.
Mhm.
And this is the first year that we've gotten
Mhm.
justification from the council to do it, so.
Yeah, 'cause it's been brought up several times. I'll make the motion that we approve the job description. That's presented. I'll make the motion that we approve the job description as provided. starting January 1st, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I have one more thing that I wanted to bring up with you guys. I spoke with Charlie about this. Back in March, so it's been a minute.
Yeah.
For the online permitting software that we do.
Mhm.
So their billing cycle, which I was unaware of this because it wasn't stated in their service agreement, is from September to August of each year. So when we started this at the beginning of the year, we were approved for the $6,587 per year for it. And then IT is putting that in their budget to ask them pay for it each year. However, for this year, they already billed for February through August. And so that was a total of $2,041.67, which we already paid. But now since we're on beginning of their billing cycle, starting in September, that's when their new bill would come out. So I'm asking for an additional $2,041.67 that to cover it.
And the total amount for that bill was budgeted into next year's IT budget.
Yeah, it should have done.
You said 6,877?
6587.
Oh, 6587? Okay, thank you.
Saying like over 45, but you're going to be 2,000.
Yeah, because we paid out in March already, 2,000 to cover that first few months that we had it.
Okay.
Because their new billing cycle for them starts in September and it goes through August of each year.
So you just need the difference.
Yeah, I need the
Between,
difference.
or you need the amount that'll cover from the September to August of next year, and then next year in August, we'll pay out what was
What
appropriated to the
yeah,
IT budget.
appropriated in the IT budget, yeah,
And the difference is,
$2,041.67.
You'll have to turn
Where we-
the
where are we gonna get this from?
The council though.
have we got,
It was
is this gonna be a transfer from a different line item in your budget, or is?
no, it came out of Cume Cap for this
Okay.
because it was just for the 1 year. But yeah, there was.
We went over Cedar earlier today, but we didn't look at King Cap. As far as how much is left in that.
There is money in there, I remember correctly.
Okay, well, there should be plenty in the, as far as the cash balance, I'm not sure about what's left in the.
Right,
Appropriation.
appropriation, she would need to ask for an additional, I think. I'd have to check upstairs, but I'm pretty sure. She would.
Yeah, there was some
Council has
confusion.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was some confusion in that too, though, that I was having, because anytime before, when I would ask for anything that came out of King Cap, I wouldn't go before council to ask for it.
Yeah,
Rachel would, I guess.
well,
So I need to
we
know how
have,
that,
there's an amount that we've been appropriated to spend. Through QCAP, I just don't know how much of that
okay,
we burned through already this year, whether or not we would need an additional appropriation.
Okay.
I don't know the dollar amount left
okay,
in the unexpended appropriation.
that's what I was.
Right.
With that.
I'll make the motion to approve, paying out the. This is the number?
Yep.
$2,041.67 for this iWork invoice from QCAP.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, yeah.
So, yeah. So. Just so I'm
Dave, if you need to come to the
clear,
council.
do I need to go to
Well,
the
that-
council?
Once Micheline looks into what our balance is on the appropriation, that'll tell us whether or not we need to do an additional appropriation for this.
Yeah,
There should be enough
Mhm.
in Cume cap as it is now, not to do that.
You've got.
I don't think
You've got
that-
nothing.
yeah, I just don't remember the dollar amount left in the appropriated budget item.
And if I would have known that was coming up, I would have checked. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Something to go about.
How are you? Good. Oh, this is, okay, so it's not. I thought it was that.
Yeah.
But we're talking about, but we're talking about. the roof. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I've seen it here.
One roof broke and two for the pavement.
Mhm.
This is the company we usually go through. For, I know we have them come out and replace some roof tiles before. Those tiles are not cheap.
Nope.
We have this already.
So
So that big replacement.
Yeah. They crack and then we start having water problems. Cause they're full ceramic tiles. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of tiles in the basement. He's getting another quote for that roof too.
Oh, it's okay. So we don't need to take action. We don't need to take action on this tonight. Okay.
You guys have a
All right.
heads up of what was going.
This is probably what we're looking at though, because this is, I mean, they're the ones that we've
Mhm.
been using, they're the ones with the expertise.
Mhm.
I don't know what.
Almost, I
What
think he-
alternates would.
yeah, I don't think he said he could come up with anybody else.
Yeah,
Limited in that
right.
area.
Yeah, we did find one other guy that's supposed to be. Getting back with him.
All right.
Randall, you did say he was getting other,
Yeah, he's getting other quotes, yeah.
Yes.
That is the parking lot ceiling.
Mhm.
yes.
What do you want to answer on that bill? If you guys want to, you know.
Who you talking
That is the only ones we did.
Did either of you guys have any conversations with Becky about?
About the same.
Oh,
Yeah, he mentioned it to me, but we didn't talk about companies.
Speak up a little bit, we can hear back here. I can't hear all anything you're saying.
the mics aren't on. Yeah.
We can roll over them now.
Exactly. Don, if you guys wanna act on this now, it's gotta get done.
Sure, I mean. Looking at that, is there a preference?
Rick was leaning more towards that one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there should be plenty in the maintenance funds there.
Mhm.
Yes, there is, because we
Yeah.
checked that the other day when
Yeah.
Rick came up.
Okay.
Bill's cracked, all in line.
Yeah, that's painting the lines and sealing all the cracks.
This is annex one, this is annex two.
This is bold, it says bold on the top.
Yeah.
And
it's for both.
down.
And the north side of the courthouse.
So. I'll make a motion to approve the quote presented from Country Strong and Asphalt Seal Coating for $8,570.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I,
Don't look at that. Bring it about the line.
Oh, yeah, the leftover warehouse.
Mhm.
I was gonna ask you, Jeff,
Things leftover.
with that auction, there's a lot of stuff that sell. Can we offer that to the employees? And then if they're not taking it, then we just give it away.
Let me look that up. I'm not sure after an auction what you have to do with merchandise. I just can't quote it offhand.
Okay.
But I'll get you an answer.
Pretty sure we did that last time, but I still wanted to clear it.
Sure.
Tell him we'll get him an answer.
Okay.
After Justin checks it out.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for reading.
Love you, right? Right here, okay?
Is that here?
Yeah, you're coming.
Who wants to be the one I still have?
All of us.
It's three right now.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
All right, so. We heard it talk about everyone's favorite subject. Insurance. Specifically for the emergency services. For 20 years, plus years, I was a firefighter and paramedic. I still am one, I just don't do it full time. So that's not what pays the bills now. What pays the bills now is I work with the fire and insurance fire and EMS insurance. There's a huge amount of liability that comes with the fire and EMS world. If you don't know it, then sometimes we can sneak up and find you when you least expect it. So what I'd like to have the opportunity to do is to discuss with you, I know I'm under time, 10 minutes, discuss with you the opportunity for quoting Starke County's EMS in their insurance, risk management services. The companies that we represent are, this probably sounds like something I would normally, insurance guy would say, it is the best. Not only is it the best coverages, they have a one-of-a-kind risk management opportunity that comes along with it. It just comes along with free of charge your premium. So things like that would come with it are they can have people come out, do actual assessments on the way things are being done, look to make sure that your protocols and your SOPs are in line with what 2024 says and thinks they should look like. A lot of times the times are changing. The cost of insurance is going up. Also, the cost of people using it is going up. Vendors don't just cost a few $1,000s anymore. There's also no pain and suffering that comes with it. You're not particularly prepared for that from a liability standpoint. Someone will take complete advantage of that. So I don't know what moving forward, what it would take for that opportunity. Young lady over here to my left, she was gracious enough to have us put on the agenda where I could sit and look at.
So is this just for emergency or the whole county?
Well,
It's for the town,
For the town?
because the town is responsible. for the
Well, we're not the town.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay.
no,
We're not
this is
the town at all.
the county.
for the EMS is what we'd like to do right
Have you
now.
talked to Jim, our EMS director?
We stopped by the station a couple weeks ago. I don't think Jim was in.
He's also got, not trying to interrupt you,
No.
he's also got a office right here. As
Okay.
soon as you walk out, it's to the left.
Mhm.
I would prefer you went and talked to him first
Okay.
and let him tell us.
You normally don't sit through sales presentations in these meetings. I'm not sure how you got through,
This
but,
isn't not about sales. This is about solutions. I know that sounds awfully.
Yeah, nice.
cliche,
as I said, we don't usually entertain sales presentations at these meetings. If you want to make a presentation in more detail, get with our EMS director. See if he thinks this is a solution that'll save his department money over the solution we already have. And then
you back.
we'll start the ball rolling there.
Okay.
You can talk to the girls upstairs and they can even hook you up with what time you can meet him or whatever.
I think we talked to the women upstairs. Right?
Did they hook you up with Jim?
Yeah, you need to have a conversation with our EMS director
Okay.
first.
Okay,
Okay.
that's that's what we're asking. You go talk to him first, let him, decide,
Mhm.
see if it's better than what he's got, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I won't have any problems showing
We
that.
appreciate
Hope that
it.
helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Donna, if you guys can save us money, I'm all ears, but
But I don't know what our current
provider though would say about us splitting out part of our work.
That's,
Either.
well, that's why it needs to be.
But this is-
gone over by the department head.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll do that.
that may be the biggest problem.
Right.
Well, this could even, we can even, I mean,
The other problem.
go as far as saying something about the county. Too, the government there.
Okay,
Well, let's check into the EMS first,
Okay,
and then we'll go from there.
thank you very much.
Yep.
I think you already have this company, which is the best.
Okay.
So we.
Yeah,
It used to be they always had to come for.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
How you doing?
still living in a few years and find out.
Step on something, yeah.
Our lawnmower took a crap. To be,
Succinct about it, yeah.
yeah, but anyway, we had 3 minutes for new one. We were hoping that we could get that in the queue out.
What are you preferring again?
The rods on the equipment.
What did you say? I couldn't hear. Bronson? Thank you. You're welcome.
It's all, we got a 2-year one.
When was the old one purchased?
10 years.
Yeah, I'd say like, I think 9 years ago.
9.5 years ago.
It's a little more, 500 more than the back. But I think it's questionable. I didn't go look at, I looked at Bronson before, only looked at the rest of it. And these people will deliver his oil or filters, whatever he needs. If you don't get this mower, you have to hire that.
Yeah,
And that's gonna be expensive.
I mean, figure that'll last 10 years, it's only $720 a year.
Right.
Comes with how long of a warranty?
2 years.
I mean, that warranty covers basically everything on or on it.
For the first 2 years, I believe it does.
The book is, he's got the book with all the specs and everything on it. I copied the wrong page.
Thanks.
How my day's gone. First day back after vacation. I made it through so far, so.
Yeah.
Warranty.
No, how do you like what he's asking for?
And I did check with him about the commissary, and he can't do it. Not in this purchase.
Mhm.
Are you thinking jail seated or what were you?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's what I recommend. I think maybe it might be worthwhile just on the council side, maybe if we also read into the record, the age of the other mower and how much was quoted to fix it, just so that's there.
Well, he's already said that it was a 9-year-old mower and.
9.5.
Yeah.
That's pretty long.
I'm not
Piece of equipment, unfortunately.
and mower, you start fixing, you're gonna keep that, you know, like you.
You had me at 9, not even a half.
My board made in 1939.
Yeah.
They were built by.
Got a little for the same.
I'll make. $200.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Let me read this while you're up here.
Okay.
This is the record call for July. Collision 10, Howard's 13, Howard's 20. And that's because he's the only one around got the semi record. Pit stop 10 and TNT auto 11,
Thank you. What could you find?
July.
That's July.
There were 59 calls, I think, altogether.
So they're all pretty equal, other
Yeah,
than Howard,
yeah.
but that's good, we got more trucks.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Yanni?
Thanks, April.
Hello,
Oh, no.
how are you? Extra at the end of the county council. So, yes.
Do you have one for me?
Sure, I'll give you one of yours. This is okay, you guys share.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
I'll try to talk louder. I'm kind of soft spoken, but.
okay,
So Mark asked me to come in and present some information for you on what we call compliance monitoring for energy projects. There's a lot of energy projects happening in Starke and around Starke and other counties, and we happen to be doing some work in those. Sometimes we do work on the front end with the energy company. We're often the surveyor in that scenario. But this is becoming kind of a niche market for us. It's something that I, as an elected official in my community, saw a need for and kind of understand the other side of it. But basically what it means is that we're trying to provide a service to the county. We're currently doing this in Jasper County, if you want, to talk to Jasper. We're also negotiating a contract in a nearby county for some multiple projects. But what we do is we come in and help support the commissioners and the county, multiple department heads in this case, because oftentimes an energy project is affecting your roads, it might be affecting your drainage or drainage board or surveyor's office, etc. And in the case of Jasper, they have an agreement with their energy companies that they're allowed to bring in a compliance monitor or anyone they wish to hire at the cost of that energy company. In other counties, they have agreements with the energy companies where if they have to pay for something, it's reimbursed by the energy company. So that's kind of how we're reimbursed for these projects. But basically what we do is we look at your ordinances, your road agreements, your decommissioning agreement, any sort of agreement you have with the energy company, or any zoning that applies to that project. So if it's a huge mammoth wind turbine project or battery storage project or solar panel, we take a look at what are you requiring? How do you monitor and make them compliant with that? It's very tasking, very overwhelming to a lot of the departments because they're very busy people as it is, and you throw one of these projects at them. Often there's also engineering involved on the part of the energy company. So in the case of Jasper, we're starting at pre-construction. We are evaluating all of the plans, site plan, road usage plan, landscape plan, vegetation plan, drainage plan, anything that has to get approved for permitting. We're monitoring what they're doing. Once that project goes into construction, we take on more of an inspection type of role. So just like with any construction project, you might have an inspector on, like an NDOT project or a road project. We serve in that role. So we're on site to make sure if you have, for example, dust compliance, we're making sure they're following that. We're also, in the case of Jasper, we're going to be logging any concerns that come in. So if a resident or a neighboring property landowner has an issue, we are the ones following up on that, or we're reporting to whichever department head is involved if we find someone, this company is not in compliance. So it's a service that we think very highly of, that's becoming more and more in demand as we're seeing counties that are dealing with these sorts of projects, trying to figure out how to make these large companies compliant. And this particular packet sort of outlines the type of services we're providing in Jasper's case. I obviously geared it towards Starke, just because I treated it as a sales pitch marketing.
Well, that's one that started.
Okay, so we're looking at doing that in a nearby county for a couple that have already started. So we are picking up on the construction side of it. In a lot of cases, they've already done the engineering on the front end. They've already been through some of the permit approvals. So we're going, okay, now you're here. We're going to make sure you're complying with everything you just got passed through. We happen to be at the start of the project we're in with Jasper.
And that was my reason for asking her, and basically so I can get her and Justin in front of me at the same time to pose the question, is this something in our current agreements with the projects that are underway or about to be completed? And then the two that are coming this year, where we expect this year, is this a cost we can shift into those projects like we do with the engineering work and the legal work?
Sure. So I think projects that are to be permitted, of course, there's always room to negotiate, cost burden shifting, because they're bargaining for a benefit. We're bargaining back for benefits. As to the companies or the phases of the companies that have already been permitted, maybe a little trickier. We could ask.
I'm not quite as worried about the Doral project. They're about done. The only thing we have to do is make sure road use agreement gets executed. And they're about to start, talks with that. Like I said, I don't know if that's something we can involve someone with a little more expertise in monitoring. So that gets done right without incurring expense on our end. I would prefer to avoid that. These projects are, from the outset, designed to be done without incurring any cost to the taxpayer. And then perhaps not with the Dunn's Bridge phase in construction, but there's a second phase, an additional phase coming from what I've been led to understand. And then of course the Hoosier solar project. And I think, like you said, we can certainly get in for those two projects. Is just managing the one that's under construction and the one that's ramping. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of
Building
what
on that, we
it's the
working that.
approach
That's-
Jasper
I'd like to
took. They
find out.
had completed projects and a lot of lessons learned. And decided we're not going to move forward with additional projects without this sort of role in place, which is where we step in. The energy companies have their own engineers, obviously, so we've gone through a lot of their plans on those projects that are just starting up. And red flagging what we see, and then they're required to respond to that. So we don't make a recommendation to the permit board, the drainage board, et cetera, until we say they're not going to approve those until we say, yes, they've checked all the boxes, et cetera. But they're in that same role. They've had a couple of completed projects and some hard lessons to learn. So I get where you're coming from, Mark.
Do you think would be all right since they've started and they got agreements with them? be able
This is-
to go
The
in.
real question is this something we can tack on under the legal services category?
Oh, I don't see why not. It's like I said, especially if we're actively trying to negotiate contracts that have benefits to both parties.
Yeah, I don't think.
You know, I think that, and I guess I'd love to talk to her a little bit more in depth because she's gonna understand a whole lot more about post-permit issuance action items than what I do. I think that, you know, I'm sure you've worked with counties where, you know, it's built into the zoning where perhaps it's already permitted exception, or I'm sorry, permitted use, like it is in Starke County. You probably work with counties, because I see Pulaski was on there where it's a special use, you know, so different trigger points, obviously. So I mean, obviously, you and I have talked about this, Mark. I can see huge benefit post issuance, you know, permit is issued. Now, let's make sure that they're doing everything like they said, because usually we hear of issues when there is a problem, and sometimes it's hard to catch up to those problems after we've already heard about them. So it would be a big benefit if we can work that in.
We define when we contract with the county, even when the energy company is paying for it, we're under county commissioners, and our scope of work is based on how you set your agreements up. And we tend to define that scope of work, ordinances, zoning, permit, etc. So we go through all of those before we hand you this is what we would be monitoring for. And of course, we'd want you to say, well, yeah, we like X, Y, and Z, but also please add A, B, and C.
I personally like to table it tonight.
Yeah, that was,
Thank you.
that was, that was.
But give us time to talk to yourself and then, you know, I'll talk to Justin.
Yeah,
But I think it's
absolutely.
good.
I just wanted to get the information in your hands with Mark.
I just want to make sure there's no trouble with it since we've already started,
Oh, gosh.
you know.
I didn't think it was something we take action on tonight. Like I said, I was more interested in making sure we got more information on what the offering was. And then if I would like you to chat a little more on how we can hammer out a potential application of what she's offering. And then, you know, better meeting maybe in September, come back with a full proposal with price tag.
What's the 2 meetings from now would be what?
September,
It'd
September.
be Tuesday,
We can put her on.
the day after Labor Day.
Okay, put her on the,
I'll leave my business card with you and then we can connect.
Appreciate
So,
that.
yeah, just thanks for letting me share. the
yeah, thanks for
information.
coming.
Sure. And I love the Pledge of Allegiance, by the way. It was really nice to have an engaged community say that so loudly.
Roberta, you had something real quick.
Yeah, I was hoping I can. So I've been talking with somebody in Jasper County, so I am a little familiar with what they're doing, and I think it's fantastic. You know, one thing that I know Jasper County did was, while they didn't put in a moratorium in order to cover the cost of this, what they did do was they didn't issue any permits. They held on any new permits until they got this in place to ensure that anything new that's coming would be covering those costs so that they could add it to that contract. So just something to think about. I know we're worried about maybe next era, but as we think about these other projects coming in, I think it's a great idea to have somebody looking at it before permit and then also after permit to ensure that we have everything that we need in place, as long as it's not costing us, which I know in Jasper County, again, the utility companies are paying for it.
Yes.
And they just chose to, you know, not do anything until they got it in place.
Yeah.
So they just kind of put a pause on all permits. Right.
Some of the counties have written that into the development agreements or the economic development agreement. So that's another route, like Pulaski kind of dealt with it up front with their agreements.
And those have to be in place before we look at the permits anyway. So I think that would be the mechanism we use for this evaluation.
Oh, you're certainly
Mark,
not
thank you for looking at this, because I know you had mentioned.
I'm not doing no more public, I'm sorry, dude.
I think the consulting firm
Yeah.
is in our favor,
Then I-
not hired by them is a good thing.
Thanks,
All
Jen.
right, thank you guys.
Thank
you.
Someone can have my chair.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Coming again to hear the decision on which vendor will be sticking with for the Lockstep jail. I gave you the update on their progress. They did not get any new work accomplished. They did set straight what old work was done. by their previous locksmith.
Right, and the main door is fixed.
Yes.
Myself, I was out there this morning. I'd like to see us give them at least another day, see how that
Okay.
wraps up.
I-
And,
There's a picture, the before, there's the after. Basically just the plate that they put on it, but it covered up all
Yeah.
the
What was the company?
Securitas,
Secure what?
TAS. Securitas.
Okay, we've already,
Jack, you've been involved in this process as well?
Yeah.
Your thoughts? Okay.
when they come in today, it was told that.
What?
Yeah, you could, you know.
They're moving and shaking at this point.
Okay.
I mean, at one point, going down Randy, he said outside fixes back there. Yeah, let's, they will, yeah, let's just tape it.
Okay.
I don't know if they get clear on.
No, don't, let's not, if they're rolling as things are, we don't need to modify anything.
Right.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. All right, golf course, card ordinance is on here by Highway 10. I'll ask you, Justin, the couple of ladies from Bass Lake called me. And the state police are stopping them for running down Highway 10, which we got no control. State police are telling them if we make an ordinance, they could write on it. Is this possible?
Well, I've never heard of that.
That's
I'm not saying.
When we did it, Charlie was real involved with it. It was, they could go anywhere around the lake they want, but not Highway 10.
Yeah, maybe.
I was under the impression the state lowered the speed limit on 10 just to allow for that.
And maybe.
It's been 35 years.
No, it's
No?
not.
Okay.
It's been like that for a while.
Oh, I mean, that's the only reason I put that on here,
No.
to ask your opinions.
I mean, I may be wrong here, but I've never seen the state say you could regulate their highways.
That's what I thought, and that's what, when they did the main ordinance, that's what that deal was.
Yeah, I'll check into it, but I'd be surprised if they said, yes, you can do that.
That's, yeah, being the state.
Yeah.
Okay. Cause they've been a lot of people doing it, well, now they're getting tickets.
Must have a new trooper.
There is, right by the Bass Lake Pub, there is a street sign that has golf carts next to mile, where there's that section on it, and I don't know who put that up.
Well, it wouldn't, and it's a state road, so that wouldn't have been us that put that up, so this,
I can
could be.
I can tell you what, there.
I ain't gonna take no more comments on, we'll do it after the meeting.
Okay.
So, yeah, you'll check into it for sure, maybe put it on the next agenda. Mike, on it. John.
Good afternoon, council commissioners.
Howdy.
Commissioners, weren't really good. What I'm requesting in Annex 2 is the utility bills. Ever since we moved there and consolidated with probation and the health department. The way the utility bills are paid now, community corrections pays 40%, probation 40%, and Purdue 20%. My request is simply this, since the health department has been there and I feel it's equitable if they kick in as well on that, is reducing the payment 30% by community corrections, 30% by probation. Purdue will maintain their 20% and adding 20% of the responsibility to the health department.
Attach that breakdown to your.
Yes.
And
We already talked about it.
I assume that wouldn't, since we're already splitting that bill 3 ways, to split it 4 ways, would not add too much of a burden on your department as far as processing the claims and getting the.
As long as the
Single bill
health department has the money.
They should have it with the public health funds that we accepted.
They mentioned to the council, I was here at that meeting also, but we did not vote on it. That's mainly why.
Okay. I'll make the motion to approve the proposal to split the Annex 2 utility bill as suggested by Mr. Mantrow.
Awesome. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Here.
Thank you all.
Yep. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sean.
You have anything?
Yeah, I have a minute for you to approve and vendor claims for you to approve.
Yeah, no, it's not on here.
Right.
No, we can't skip that. You have the originals that need to be signed?
Mhm.
Okay.
Need a motion to set the payroll claims of 320,738.92.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
And payroll. And claims, vendor claim. Go with the,
All day long.
I'll give me 2 copies. Payroll.
Yeah, and she's got all the originals.
Before you get to vendor claims, I have a question. I had read something in the recent audit about credit card usage among the various departments. And I had, sent Michaeline an email asking if she, at this point, had information on which departments are using credit cards, because according to the State Board of Accounts, credit cards are supposed to be kept in the auditor's office and requested by a department head, I would suppose, when they need to be used. And there was an issue in that audit with that not being done. So I had received these claims in the email from Michaeline that we all received. And I noticed that in the highway department, there are 2 claims for Amazon Capital Services. And I had a question as to whether that constitutes a credit card use. There's also on page 11 of the claims, Fund 1222911, office supplies, Amazon Capital Services.
Who was that one for? Then?
It says clothing allowance. I don't, there, again, it's on page 11. It's the second, or it's the first full section. It just says fund, no department, clothing allowance. There's a claim for Tomahawk Customs. And then the one under that says office supplies, Amazon Capital Services.
April, is that you guys?
That is not ours.
The next one is on page 12. Down at the bottom, there is something stating jail supplies, Amazon Capital Services, 229.90.
I'm sorry. We're on the county Amazon account, so we don't have any credit cards or anything through them. We have access to the county, through the county. So we order through there and then we invoice it back to that, all the.
Amazon Capital Services is set up as a vendor in our payment system.
And
those are not credit.
No, we
That's
do
account.
not have any Amazon credit cards.
Okay, that was my question, because I had asked Michaeline whether she had information on any departments that might still have credit
And I
cards.
told you the
floating.
only ones I knew of was we had one in our office and then the EMS, and they keep theirs in the ambulances
And there it is.
for user
Yeah.
fuels.
That makes sense, so I think I think we need to maybe more actively just make sure that there aren't any floating around out there in other departments.
They're not full.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I've said.
We just did.
I just heard it's been looked into and we just have those, the one you have and the.
And the one still has Rachel's name on it, but
We'll
I don't
get
use it,
that
so.
started. You haven't even been here a month yet.
I know.
We'll get it.
I'm not worried about
Public yet.
I don't know what list you guys get, just to throw this out there too. I don't know what list you guys get. We don't see that, but like our claims, when we turn them in, I'm a little over specific. So I never list jail supplies as a
Well, she
reason for purchase. So
was mainly concerned about
Yeah.
credit cards.
I just wanted you to know we're pretty thorough on our claim forms, so you have credit cards on there at all.
Well, and I normally, I don't recall the council members having received copies of the claims as a matter of course through email. So I appreciated receiving this one, especially right now at this time, right after that audit had come out with all of the 34 pages of information it contained. But if it's possible, I think it's not a bad thing if the council is included in these emails in the future, just because perhaps more eyes on the vendor claims couldn't hurt.
No, that's our peer review as the Board of Commissioners. Your peer review as the council is the appropriations.
Well, and your purview is to make sure that this manual of internal controls is implemented, and it hasn't been. So, and I have brought that up after the highway department debacle. You guys adopted an internal controls manual in 2020 under ordinance 2020-011, and it obviously hasn't been followed. And if you would like to review it, I would be happy to provide a copy of that. And I have an extra copy of the internal controls manual for you as well.
Thank you. Let's move on.
I don't want to talk about it either.
You want to leave the meeting?
Do you know, again,
Hey, guys, Joe.
there's a concept
Hey,
in these meetings.
One more thing out here, before he's asking you to leave,
No,
not down nothing.
no, Don, let me, there's one thing that we particularly have been lax on, and that is maintaining order in these meetings,
Absolutely.
like that.
We're allowed to laugh. It's okay.
I need a motion to accept the claims of $429,507.40.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye. Oh, sorry.
And then the commissioners meeting from July 15th. That Sarah took the minutes for.
Need a motion to accept the minutes of Monday, July 15th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then for the commissioners portion of the joint meeting. On July 29th.
Need a motion to accept the commissioner portion of the meeting on July 29th.
So moved.
Well, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Try to think, Mike, when you had any.
Oh, yes, the girls said that in the past. You guys have had approved a resolution to approve the Christmas party coming out of. 501-00-000-0036 in the county general fund. And that would come for the council, but that you. Approved closing from 1 to 4 on December, that you were the ones that do it, and they're suggesting December 6th, and they said the attorney usually makes a resolution. And if you don't go to the party, you have to stay and work. That was how the resolution was last year.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
You don't need no motion, nothing, right? Michael,
No, you'd have to approve the resolution after.
Justin, you got anything?
No, I remember doing it the last couple of years.
Okay. Anything else tonight?
Oh,
I don't have anything. Yes, I do. There's a thing in here about a Percy appointment that needs to be made.
I
that,
think we just did that last meeting.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, it was
remember.
still in the folder, so I
Yeah, it
didn't,
was done last
Yeah.
meeting.
okay,
Just have to
I'll
come
check
in.
that out.
Todd,
I have nothing.
okay,
No.
Sandra,
Beg your pardon?
do you have anything?
I do. It goes to the internal controls. Standards that was adopted by the commissioners back in 2020. According to page 4 of the manual that was adopted through county ordinance, all personnel must get certified in internal control standards. There is a form to be completed in the appendix. Fiscal officer must certify in writing that minimum internal controls standards have been adopted, and personnel who are not on leave status have received training. There is an appendix to this manual that is part of our county ordinances, in which or on which person receiving training would complete their name and the training done. So my question is, does that written certification exist? And if so, could we all get copies of that?
And I have no idea, because this is the first I've heard about it.
Okay.
Would you
Yeah,
check it?
it's in, I made an extra copy, like I said, of it's 77 pages. So if you'd like, I read things on paper better than online. So if you'd like that copy, you can have it. According to page 5 of that internal controls manual, the legislative body is responsible for oversight of internal controls. Such as the credit card question that I raised earlier, going not to the commissary fund necessarily, but that's what alerted me to that particular little tidbit. But on section 2, page 9 of this manual, it also talks about, it lists on examples of internal controls that should be in place. And, you know, after the highway department issue earlier this year, I didn't know that this existed, and that's my bad, my fault. And since the sheriff's audit was issued, I've been trying to investigate more of what I feel like we all should know and should have known all along. So this manual, though, it does go into a decent description of internal controls that I think you as the legislative body would it would behoove everyone to consider these in light of what we've had going on. It talks about payroll activities, disbursement activities, and just examples of disbursement activities that could be put in place. The responsibility for approving claims is segregated from those preparing the claims. And I'm not saying some of these aren't already in place, it's just their list. Checks are written by an individual other than the one approving the claim. Checks are signed by an individual other than the one preparing them. Then it goes on about 10 or 11 bullet points, and it has receipting activities for when cash is received. The responsibility for collecting money and issuing receipts is segregated from those preparing the bank deposit. So a lot of it is about delegation of responsibility within a department, but I think also within all of government as well, to keep a better system of checks and balances in place. One reason I know from my experience in the last year and a half that we do need better checks and balances is not only the highway department, but I also have an ordinance, because I started just going through all the old ordinances, like, all right, what else have I missed out on here? Trying to educate myself more. In 2012, one was adopted that requires a monthly financial report to be filed at the end of each month by any department that is receiving any monies in their normal conducting of business. It applies, this says it right in our ordinance, applies to the following departments: auditor, treasurer, clerk, recorder, planning, BZA, EMS, health, sheriff, probation, highway, and any other county office that receives any type of fees. So I didn't recall receiving any monthly reports during our council meetings. And if you guys and we were receiving those from the auditor's office as the ordinance requires, then we would be able to implement at least one or more of these internal controls that are required by the State Board of Accounts. And
we would be on the road, back on the road to preventing further overspending, or, we'd have a better chance of doing it anyway, preventing overspending, preventing, credit cards being used for various things, or a lot of things we could prevent. So I had asked Michaeline if she had any of these monthly reports, and I don't know at this point if you were able to locate
I haven't
any.
found them yet.
Would you take that ordinance and send it to all the department heads?
It's 2012-01 for March 5th of 2012.
Are this the same reports we're required to do? We turn in reports, we have monthly reports on all of our accounts.
Well, and
They
I'm
get
not.
turned in and received by the auditor's office.
And I'm not saying that it's the department, I mean, because I don't know. All I know is we haven't received them on the council, and the auditor is supposed to be receiving them and then transmitting them to the commissioners and the council. So that could have been where the block was, that they weren't being transmitted. So it's just something I think for the good of the taxpayers and and the entire county, that it needs to be corrected, and we need to be seeing those every month. And,
Can I say something?
oh, it's not my meeting.
Can I say something?
I'd really wait till after the meeting, like I've asked everybody else.
It has to do with the report.
I'm sorry, I thought she was continuing. So, I think, I'm just looking at my own bullet point list that I was trying to put together so I could discuss some of the things I had found out, and I think that might be that I had asked about the credit cards, and I think that's all for now, and I would probably save the rest for the council meeting. But I'm more than happy to, discuss with any of you individually any more of the stuff that I've come up with. And it's only been since last week, and, running my practice, going to hearings, and then doing all of this. I was happy that I came up with as much as I did. And I plan to continue looking through and at least trying to, I can't go through the entire Indiana code to see what kind of other reports you guys and we are supposed to be getting. But I'm going to try to find out as much as I can, and I'm happy to share it so that the taxpayers' money is better protected, and we as the county are better protected from another $40,000 audit fee.
And would you have one of the girls put that big packet in my mailbox, make a copy?
The ordinance.
Not the ordinance, the other one.
Oh, okay.
And that's all, Cassandra.
Yes, despite my stacks of papers.
Dave?
Yeah, just one thing, just for the other two commissioners, you were there and during our discussion at the budget workshop where we talked about, and I did reach out to Justin about this, about creating an ordinance to establish the fund to receive the solar revenue from the economic development agreements. We'll be receiving funds starting this year. So that'll be there. So just, wanted to let the other two commissioners know that we asked to do that. But we discussed it in our budget workshop, and I asked Justin to draft that for us.
And if I might, I did forget one
Go
thing,
ahead.
and this is, it goes back to the internal controls that I found Indiana Code 5-11-5-1.5. And it does state that an audit, if an examination report contains a finding that an audited entity failed to observe a uniform compliance guideline established under Indiana Code 5-11-1-24, or to comply with a specific law, the audited entity shall take action to address the audit findings. So I think that statute also provides additional incentive for us to not only maybe take action and also make sure that it's maybe put into ordinances or something with some teeth instead of, us just discussing like, oh, this was a shame that this happened. I hope it doesn't happen again.
Kathy, could you repeat that ordinance? That I couldn't hear
The
you.
Indiana code, yeah, the one I found is 5-11-5-1.5. That statute referred to Indiana code 5-11-1-24 parens, lowercase a, close parens.
And Sheriff's Department, you guys have anything back there? Yep. Landon, Carl. Oh, do you have anything? To go back row, if you have anything to speak, state your name first and then go ahead. Well, wait a minute, sorry, Mandy.
So Kathleen, to that note, the recorder's office does file a report at the end of every month. Because we have our own bank account, and so we receive everything into our system monthly, and at the first of the month, then we do our end of previous month and hand it to the auditor.
Yeah, I never said anybody didn't. I'm
No,
just
I know.
still.
No, I
trying
just
to
keep
budget
looking for
done
the
and-
reports and I, you know,
And I just haven't had a chance to look for you.
I just want to update.
Deb Wall. Do you have anything?
I can wait my turn.
It's your turn.
can wait my turn.
It's your turn.
Go ahead, I'm giving it to you.
Well, I see Ms. Monroe left, but I have some questions for her. When she refers to we in her company, who does that mean? What job descriptions are people gonna be looking at these? I mean, you guys know. You would know, is this the first company that's come and asked to work for the county or the only company? Have they worked on projects before and finished them, or are they new? She didn't talk like they kind of new.
We have an existing relationship with VS Engineering through the highway department. They've done work for us preparing submissions for the CCMG program. And this was an area that seemed like it might be a good value add for what we're already getting from them in terms of engineering services.
Okay, I didn't hear her say it's an engineering firm.
Yeah.
I guess that was my question.
Now we'll start with the back row. Nobody? Next row up. Go ahead, state your name and go ahead with your.
Matt Hellion, I live at Bass Lake, and I wanna make sure I understood what the county was gonna look into regarding the golf cart ordinance. Are you looking at drafting something?
Not until we talk to the state. It's a state highway and the county don't have no jurisdiction on.
I understand that, so that's what you're gonna talk to the state about?
Yes.
Drafting an ordinance?
No, we're gonna ask him if that's allowed.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
To supersede state law.
effectively what we'll do is verify what we've heard third hand about what this state trooper is claiming, that we have the ability to do that. We're going to go through NDOT and state agencies to verify that's accurate. And then once verified, we'll decide what course of action to take.
Third row,
Oh, I see.
go ahead.
Okay, this is more for Justin. I'm Sandy White now.
Sandy, what?
White now.
White.
My question is for Justin. Is it appropriate to be doing Zoom meetings while driving? Like if you've got the person on the Zoom, the photo, like I know that twice now I've seen people appear coming late and they're zooming and I know.
You're like an elected official to do it or just?
Yeah, elected officials.
I did it at least once.
Is it well, I don't know if I can say it's appropriate to drive this.
Because I
Distracted.
looked it up. I was gonna just look online.
If you're asking, you can appear by Zoom as an elected official, as long as you pass an ordinance. Is it appropriate to drive distracted? No. No.
That was, what if there was a wreck? And then the county, they're working for the county right at that minute. That was my concern.
Yeah, I
just
mean,
didn't
there
know
could
if
be some
that's-
liability there.
Huh?
Sure. I said, sure, I mean, maybe there's some junction of liability there if they're on the county tax. I'm not sure, I've not looked into it, but distracted driving, not a good thing.
I just wanted to
Sure.
clarify that. Thank you.
Third row.
Go ahead. Hi, my name is Craig Hendry. I like to stand up when addressing such a fine audience. But my name is Craig Hendry. I'm here to raise a bit of awareness about something that one of the departments here has done. I understand that you are the legislative body over this county, and we've got a couple of members representing the fiscal body of this county.
And which part of the county do you live in?
I don't live in this county.
Okay.
Yeah.
From,
I'm from down south, southern Indiana. Yes, but I'm here to address what happened in June of 2022. I'm not sure if you all were aware. but a fine gentleman from this area was kidnapped by the Starke County Sheriff's Department. They kidnapped him, put him in a cage, tased him, beat him up, and there's allegations that they drew blood from him illegally. And that man was totally correct when he said that he had been wronged. He just won a lawsuit against the county. These fine individuals in the audience were responsible for paying about $45,000 to settle that lawsuit. So, and also, before I ask you the question I wanted to ask you, I want to say that this seems to be happening again. We've got another few people in the area, Rebecca Reisner and Jeremy Reisner. Jeremy was arrested, potentially wrongfully. Of course, the courts haven't looked at it yet, and I could be held criminally liable if I make any allegations against the police in a public meeting. But Jeremy Reisner was taken away from his wife on the allegation that he had a protective order with his wife, and no such order existed at the time. It was a clerical error, and this man got taken off the streets and thrown in a cage in a very uncomfortable place. Rebecca faces retaliation after that incident. 4 months after that incident had concluded a traffic stop in which Jeremy was taken off the streets, Rebecca received a notice from the county attorney, the prosecutor, sorry, not the county attorney, but the prosecutor, who summoned her to the city court for disorderly conduct when all she did was express her grievances to her government officials. There was nobody else that reported disorderly conduct. And so I ask you guys in the best of faith, all three of you commissioners, what pressure would you put on the agency, the sheriff, if all of the things that I'm telling you are true? And of course, if they aren't true, you know.
Everybody's innocent till proven guilty.
And so Mr. Densmore was proven innocent. And he actually, you all had, well, not you all, but these people, because of course you guys, weren't the ones paying, but these people all paid 45 grand to settle this lawsuit.
We still pay taxes too.
Yeah. All right, so. Well, what do we do about this, guys? We got somebody who just got kidnapped. And by the way, the officer who kidnapped him, what was it, Sergeant Lionheart at the time? Sergeant Lionheart, he got a promotion. He's Detective Lionheart now. So I mean, how can we apply pressure to this clearly road
Have you ever
agency?
talked to the sheriff about this?
No, sir,
This is something that needs to go through the sheriff's office.
he knew that the 45 grand was settled and he still didn't do anything. The guy's still on the payroll.
You should have called, or whoever was concerned should have called the sheriff's office.
And so is the whole idea of checks and balances in government, is that completely extinct in America today? Because that's what I'm hearing.
Well, you can hear exactly what you choose to hear.
Okay.
It is a free country.
Yes, and I'm sure that a majority of the people in the room hear the same thing, but thank you, gentlemen, very much.
You talk to the sheriff and then you come back.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Anybody else on that road? Larry, do you want to speak?
Well, I was just gonna say there was that mention in one of the discussions about piers in the lake and the permits. I don't understand it. I don't have a pier, but there's quite a few people from Bass Lake.
Right.
Maybe if Mary could give a brief description of what that is while these folks are here.
I'm gonna speak first, Mayor, if you don't mind. The DNR is handing all this over to us. That's where it's starting at. It's not something Mary and them come up with. The DNR is handing it to the county. Go ahead.
Unfunded mandate.
Okay, so, the State Division of Water has passed a Freshwater Lakes Preservation Act that is now part of Indiana state law and the Indiana, flood prevention ordinance that each county is required to adopt. And as part of that, it is required now that piers are permitted. They have rules that go along with them. On how deep of water, the piers are in, how long the piers are. Bass Lake will have an exception on it. I've looked into, so the freshwater lake rules basically state that a pier can be in 6 feet of water, only up to 150 feet. Bass Lake will be permitted the 300-foot mark on that. But each year, a pier, boat lift, anything like that is now required to get a permit through the county. Wow. We haven't made it that far yet. Will there be a? Yeah.
Is that determined by the state or the county?
It'll be determined by the county.
But it comes from the state.
As mandated by the state, because
Set of the guidelines.
And we'll probably have to hire another person, another vehicle. I mean, that's something to keep in mind.
If you have a pier,
State your name, state your name.
Gary later. If you have a pier and you paid for a permit, will you also have to pay for a permit for your boat with the 6 kilometer?
That has yet to be determined.
Doesn't that statute, I thought I saw that statute. Did it just take effect July 1st?
I wanna say so.
Yeah, because I think I saw it in the list of new laws that went into effect. And it mentions seawalls. It mentions like pretty much
Seawalls,
everything
anything
you
that's-
could put in a lake.
Anything that's within 10 feet of the lake. In the lake.
So I wouldn't be, I'd have to look at it again, but I don't remember if it mentioned boat lifts, but because it did seem pretty. Oh, yeah, sorry, I just, it's pretty sweeping.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically anything in the water. Like you just said, Bass Lake would be exempt. No, they're exempt on the pier length.
Which it always has been.
It's always been 3.
Because of that.
Right, but you're still gonna need a permit to put the pier in.
Will somebody be inspecting the pier to make sure it's put in
Yeah.
properly, it's in
Right.
working order, it's,
Right,
so you have to
I
hire
mean,
somebody
right
to
now,
come out
we're-
and 1,000 piers.
we took step one tonight by
We're in the
expanding a
beginning
part-time position into a full-time position.
And is it up to the county or up to the state to depend on, like, could you do permitting without charging us?
You gotta pay for the person, we gotta hire.
Just hire them, so.
That was
we have
very
to-
different. That ain't, this ain't even brought up, it ain't.
Yeah.
Went
Exactly.
forward.
Benefit from the money.
But we guys, one of you guys got a car to donate, just let this person use. I mean, that's, you know what I'm saying?
That's not-
We're gonna do this to make money off.
I didn't get her name.
Mary Papillion.
You know what I mean? If we got expense, we're gonna have to take it. Not that we're out there to rob you guys or nothing. Maybe it only cost $5-10, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely keep it. You know what I mean? We're not gonna do it to make money. And the only reason we're doing it is because they say it's required.
This is one of the joys of an unfunded mandate from the state.
No, I feel sorry. That's gonna be a lot.
State your name. Okay.
Talk about me?
Yeah.
Matt, tell you. Question back at you. Does that statute say anything about pier removal come winter time?
No.
Do you happen to know if the state has a law regulating that piers must be removed, or is that?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay.
I know, well, I mean, I take that back. I will say there is temporary structures that they call this, and then there's permanent structures. A permanent pier stays in. A temporary structure is gonna be, I would say, probably close to 100% of the piers on our lakes that are put in, that have to be taken out.
I think I just suggest any further questions on this topic. If anyone reach out. individually after to the BZA or that's
Great. Anybody on here what? State your name.
Say that, highway, question for the highway department, can we improve the? When you're coming, they'd be going eastbound on 650 south, coming to 600 east. Looking back to the lake, that intersection is very hard to see. Because it's only a stop sign on one side on 650, so the cars really rip down 600. So
600 east is a 600
east
and then
650 south.
On the south side over there, more or less.
Yeah.
We'll let them know up there.
Because, you know, they come down with the mower. I used to mow for the county, you know, it's a 4-foot mower and they're only cutting 2 foot down the road. You know,
Okay,
But that intersection is hard looking back to the north.
we'll pass it on to them.
Thank you.
Anybody else down your road? Darren? Go ahead,
Hey,
man.
Audrey, I just have a question for, since we've had the whole financial highway debacle. And then everything that's happened with the jail and the auditor that was prior now is in charge of the highway department. At what point do we relieve her of duties so that it doesn't keep continuing, since this has been happening since 2021? With things not balancing? Obviously, there needs to be better checks and balances in place for all departments.
It's all being looked into, and you need to just listen from now on, how it's going.
Like 2021, I mean,
Yep.
we just keep getting further and
Right.
further and further.
And we removed the garage personnel.
And in that
So
span, we've had 3 different
the auditor
highways.
is still in charge of the highway department now, the old auditor is still in charge.
I'm not gonna put names out there, but it's not the old auditor's fault. You know what I mean? There's other stuff being brought up, so give it
Well,
time,
she was listed in part of that embezzlement,
okay?
if you wanna call that, from the sheriff's department.
I don't know if that's the appropriate term, but it's not.
What would you call it?
Exactly what it was said in the report, misappropriation.
Right. Okay, so we're not.
Is that all you got? Darren? Anybody else on that road, clear to the end?
Anybody?
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Sir?
Oh, you know I do.
I
I'm
know.
sorry, Donnie. So I just have a couple of things. First, Cassie, I want to thank you for some of the research that you've done, because some of what I wanted to bring up. Along with Tammy. Sorry, I'm Roberta Lee, by the way.
Roberta what?
Roberta Lee.
Lee?
Yes. So I have two things. First, one more thing. Again, thank you for looking into how we can do better when it comes to the solar. Obviously, what's coming to light is that paperwork's an issue in this county. I mean, in general, receipts are an issue. Misappropriations are an issue. We're not following through with our own ordinances. Some additional things that have come to light. One example, last year, apparently we kind of missed the boat again, and what was supposed to be a $16,000 a year contract with an IT company was actually $16,000 a month, which is a difference of $192,000 minus what we thought of was 16,000, leaving us $176,000 that apparently I paid for as a taxpayer because we didn't read the contract well. So that's one thing. I also would like to understand, I know you said we need to listen, and I appreciate that, and I understand you guys just got the State Board of Accounts final report. But I definitely want to know what we're doing moving forward, and I hope that we're taking steps to pause on spending, doing things until we have these checks and balances in place. I think it's important as a county that we are being more careful and more fiscally responsible with the funds. And the last thing that I have is I have some pictures of something that came to light to me in July of last year, and that is a fairly large oil spill that took place at the highway department. And I'd like to understand, did we contact IDEM? Did we contact the EPA to get, I mean, from what I understand.
They
it
was
looks like-
contacted one time, but I can tell you, what
Did we
month.
follow through for proper cleanup
There was one that I was aware of was followed through
in
that.
July of 2023?
I checked the date,
It
yes.
sounds like the right time frame when it.
They were gonna put stops in the ditches and everything. Or-
How much did this cost us overall to clean up the mess?
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Do we know what the cost was to get that cleaned up?
No.
Cause I was told.
I
that
can
it affected the-
If you could, I'd greatly appreciate it, because it sounds to me like driving by, you can still see where some of this spill was. And it went into the ditches.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks like a pretty good spill. I can send, I'm sure you guys have seen it, but this is the first I heard about it. I was kind of surprised that we didn't hear about it sooner. I know that, again, I'd like to see like maybe the IDEM or EPA reports for it if I could.
If
So I can,
there's one out there,
I'll put in the official FOIA request for it,
Yep.
but yeah, I definitely would just like to better understand maybe, where are we making, why are we making these mistakes? These are $176,000 on a IT contract. That's a big mistake. That, I'd like to understand how that happened. Are we not reading? Are we not,
Right.
any answers on that? Is that accurate information?
I'll answer you right now. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay, so that did happen then, that we overspent with an IT contract?
Well, I'm sure. I mean,
Okay.
if it's out there, it
Okay.
helps, it absolutely.
Okay.
But are we moving forward? Absolutely. Everybody else thinks we're not. The council and the commissioner are going full force to try to take care of this. It ain't that we're throwing stuff under the bus. That's all. And that's why I was asking her to just listen up. Let me finish up here and then I'll take. Or
The only thing I would ask is, earlier you mentioned just listen, we'll be hearing how this stuff's gonna get resolved. Where should we?
you'll be hearing how we're moving forward.
Mark, who, I'm sorry.
What's your last name?
Or, sorry,
No.
He doesn't deserve that.
BEARLOG.
Got you. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Correct. Yeah. My only question would be, where should we tune in to hear?
Everywhere.
Right,
Where you
right.
guys getting all your messages now, on the radio and wherever. Well, there you go. There you go.
Well, Mark, not to
Listen
try
to
to
him.
make myself fully responsible for something that's statutorily, I think, the oversight of the commissioners, but what I could try to do, I already posted something on my county council wall about that I had the audit report and I was reading it over and or the semi-annual report, because we hadn't had one of those when I asked, and then Michaeline looked around and found that one had been filed, July 1st, one had been filed the 3rd. So then we were able to get copies of that. And I think I updated it to let everybody know that I did have it, the new one in my possession. But as I go through some of these things, I will do my best to try to post and inform the public on what I find in the ordinances, kind of like I did here today. And some people might not like that, but I feel like the public needs to know these things, so I'll give it my best.
I mean, it's nice you go through that effort, but all I'm looking for is, okay, some kind of investigation or however you guys go about doing what you do.
When you do an investigation, you can't say nothing till told. That's the way it works.
I don't think it would, I'm sorry. I was gonna say with the internal controls manual of giving those examples of what can be put into place, and we might have some and it might be others that we definitely need to try to prevent overspending or misappropriation in the
That's what I
future.
said, we're all moving forward.
But I guess my question is, as far as moving forward goes, why don't we set something to where
You
you
just
guys,
sent that out
everybody-
tonight, I can't do nothing on it tonight.
I'm not asking for you to do something tonight. I'm saying let's put some kind of action plan in place to at least meet either special session. I don't know, it probably doesn't qualify for an executive, but some kind of session where we can look at what sort of internal controls are in place and where we can do better, because the state board of accounts requires us to take action anyway. So let's take it.
Anytime you want to do that, you just call me.
I was just gonna say, Charlie, are you willing to work with Cassandra here to
Because we
get
didn't
that
talk about
ball
it.
rolling?
Yeah, okay, absolutely.
All right. Dave, let's go first, then I got something to say.
I think it really needs to.
Mark, are you done?
Yeah. But it's all said and done. I mean, whatever is the problem, there's a solution. What I'm looking for is, whoever does whatever. Like to hear it from you guys, or whoever that person is. This is what we found. This is our course of action.
Absolutely. And that's why I say it can't happen overnight. And the investigation, you can't even
It's
speak on it.
point overnight either,
Yeah.
so.
Right? But we didn't get the answer no more quicker than you guys.
Can I mention something?
Thank
Go ahead, Justin.
So, okay, so I'm sorry, just to talk remedial things, just to show that lesson learned, that IT contract did not go through my office. Just because I saw you look this way when you talk about contract. Lesson we learned there was all contracts one, need to go through me. And two, prior to the meeting, because one bad habit that we've nixed, we've not done it in a while, is people would show up to meetings with a contract and say, Justin, what do you think of this? 5 minutes before, so that's just to answer kind of your question. That was remedial issue. And I'm not passing the blame on anybody. It was somebody, whoever reviewed that thought that it said annually. It wasn't. And like I said, remedial efforts had to be taken. We've implemented some remedial efforts with contracts, largely due to that error. That they come through me. They come through me the week before the meeting. So again, you're asking like, yeah, how we remedy some of these issues. That's one example of something that we've done.
And I think that's exactly what this manual from the SVOA is contemplating. There's no control about that.
Sure.
Now, as far as whether we write those up, I am not sure. Whatever we come up with, I would think it needs to be in some sort of ordinance or manual.
Yeah.
Hey, just real quick, and I'm not saying this is stick up for anybody or try to avoid anything. The whole debacle with the highway department, that was not the auditor's fault. It was nobody's fault because the highway commissioner never turned any of the bills in. He just sat on it. He went and ordered and spent all that money and just kept the bills, thinking he was gonna wait till next year and turn them in and then have them paid. So there was nothing commissioners could have done. There's nothing the auditor could have done. The council, what we did do, after this all came to light, we put a limit on how much they could spend without coming to us and asking for additional money, with the exception of payroll and fuel. So right there is a control we put in. He could have spent 20 million. Nobody ever would have known.
Nobody was there watching what's showing up at the.
He was never doing anything with the bill.
There wasn't a show for what he spent.
There was after the fact, after he was gone.
Nobody's out there saying, where's this come from? Where'd that come from?
He had the right to order whatever was appropriated in that budget. If there was $1 million appropriated, he could spend that $1 million as long as there was cash in that fund. So
adhering to our regular spending limits.
And that's what happened. So maybe it was a bad control issue to start with, but now.
The council did take some corrective action.
did.
What I'm just suggesting is that, and when Charlie, I'm happy to work with you on this issue, coming up with better control across the board, across the town.
So I think before we cast stones and try to blame somebody, we should have all the facts. What really what happened, and that is what happened. And I was appalled when it happened, so that's all I got to say about it.
Okay, so in parallel then with what you were saying there, I just wanted to give you some feet moving into that because the question was asked what we do to correct something like that. And the answer is teamwork. Commissioners and the council work together. So I want to address something because there were some things I was going to wait for the council, but just quickly on one thing about the commissary, for example. That's been in question since I started. We've been asking questions. Don, we've worked together, I think the longest. If somebody else has worked with me longer, that's Commissioner Council, let me know, but. We have questioned it over the time. For the longest time, we were told we didn't have any authority over it. So at the auditors at the time, I had them work with the State Board of Accounts and ask, and little by little, they did divulge that we had more authority. And we did put things into place. And when we had the new administration coming, we finally had agreement from a sheriff to be completely transparent and that he would list all the things out. Now, the process for that was, which is public knowledge now, was that they asked for an audit, so they started out to know where they were at. So there was that. But what we did on the council also was we asked the commissioners, because there's a commissioner in charge of every department. The council didn't take an active role in that. So we thought, let's help with a second set of eyes. So with your permission, for example, we put Tony Black out there to be a commissioner representative for, council representative for the sheriff's department. Going back to and this is only, I knew what you were going to say, this is why I want to lead into this. And this is why you were speaking of it from the council side, since it's really more of a commissioner issue, is that we also asked the permission of having a council person represented in the highway department, and that was Todd. The reason being is he's a former highway superintendent, so he's an engineer that works in that business. So the council did get involved, so I just wanted to say that, like, we have been collaterally involved in helping with that, with teamwork between the two divisions of the executive body. So,
Justin?
What procedures did you put in place, Dave, to help keep the checks and balances?
yeah, so what we did was, sorry.
No, I just said what we did.
Well, but we also, I think, are you talking about?
Oh.
mean, that.
Yeah, so.
And that's where
Yeah,
I'm,
we're doing this, we did this, we put this, but you don't have any checks.
No, we do actually, and we got the report this time, a more detailed report, because we talked about this in our budget workshop. So it became more detailed, but the sheriff's department started giving us an audit of what they were spending. Now, the question, the big issue I had originally, and they agreed to change this, was there was a big miscellaneous line.
When?
Well, somebody pointed out that it was since 2021, but it took the change in administration to really get all of the things in effect, but they are now.
They are now,
Yeah.
but they weren't. You weren't. Marty tried bringing it up to you guys like in 2021 that there was.
And if you, but the problem was the person that brought this up didn't look at all the council meetings that were associated with it. There was a lot of commissary discussion from there on. There were, I'm not gonna go into detail, but there were some pretty heated, I'll just call them heated discussions.
And it took a change in state law to get a bigger crowbar to get into that 2 years ago.
It did,
What
yes.
we have now, though, with the prior auditor. According to the report, there's over 20 grand or more.
The prior auditor, I just want to get this clear, the prior, I was probably, as Don pointed out, we know weeks in advance when something like this happens. We, as a management team detected this. So it wasn't just like somebody outside said, hey, we're gonna, so, but the auditors, unless I heard differently, the auditor was not implicated.
Right.
But she was part of the discovery process in this, because obviously she can go back, because again, sorry, Don, we were gonna talk about this in the council meeting, but what happens in this process of the bills is that the commissioner receive bills for automotive. You've seen some of this. The auditor receives those from the department. You know, what she spent those on. And so now part of the process with the controls is to get more detail from that. In the past, it wasn't as detailed. It wasn't required. So theoretically,
Building all the misappropriation.
Yeah.
That is her job. She is also partly responsible for that, to make sure when you see beds and everything else, to question that. And
Well,
any other person,
Yeah.
if you're in a different form of management, sometimes are relieved of their duties until things are squared away. So you're taking someone that's already wasted some money and you put them in charge of another department that's already had lots of spending issues with not even a smack on the head.
she wouldn't have seen those.
She wouldn't
She didn't-
see those though.
She didn't see that though, like she would have
She
seen.
didn't.
Again, you'll have to go back to the report, and I'm not an attorney, and there's obviously ongoing work being done with this, but if you look what was stated in that report. It was reported differently, like she wouldn't have seen that, the item, like the couple items that you mentioned, it was
Commissary stuff.
she didn't see
It was
that.
paid for the
Yeah,
commissary.
right, that's what I'm saying, it wasn't in that kind of detail,
You know how foolish that makes this county look.
I don't disagree. Nobody's.
There is someone that's gonna
Yeah.
be prosecuted, I would hope. And not just swept under the rug like a lot of stuff is.
Well,
Now,
Like I asked, you give us time.
State
We can't do the best part
investigate.
tonight. That all you got?
So.
Sorry, your name, please.
Justin Reisner. I
Thank you.
apologize. Two different things. I was gonna touch on the first one, but we're already talking about this. As you guys have said, it is under further investigation. The report, we're going back to the report says that Pam said that she contacted the auditor and let her know that she accidentally purchased these items and that she was gonna pay for them herself. So which is all under investigation, so we don't know neither here nor there, but if there is any chance at all that this person is telling the truth and that they let the auditor know, hey, I made these purchases. Subpoena shows that there was not a single purchase or bill or payment made by the conspirator, and that all payments were made by the county. So if it's under investigation, then I would ask that she put on temporary unpaid leave until the investigation is done, and that she is cleared. Because as it sits right now, we don't know here nor there. I find it hard to believe that somebody can turn in receipts with invoice cutouts from other invoices and attach to this without anybody asking any questions whatsoever. You know, that would be. So I would ask that instead of giving her a 5-year contract and praising her for such a great job she's been doing, that she be put on a temporary unpaid leave until these investigations are done.
I think that's based on a assumption that shouldn't be made. I mean, you want to assume.
It's in the report.
Well, the assumption you're making is that someone who has been found to have used their administrative powers within the sheriff's department improperly would somehow be truthful in the manner of her interaction with the auditor. So I don't think that's an assumption.
I don't think that we can say one way or the other.
Exactly. So at this point, we'll give the benefit of the doubt who's.
And nobody gets the benefit of the doubt. Nobody at all. This is
$60,000.
Yeah, this is $60,000.
Okay, in the past, the commissary didn't go through the auditor's office. It was a separate account
Right.
just at the jail.
Right.
So how would Rachel have even known?
I don't know.
I think he's referring to the one part of the audit that states that the former matron had ordered a bed, I think a chair and something
How would
else.
Rhonda have known that when those claims don't go through?
Because
Rachel, I mean.
she stated, the former matron stated that she advised the auditor that she had accidentally ordered these items for herself.
See, that's the statement I was referring to.
Oh, okay.
You know, I don't know that, they're asking for, or Justin's asking for us to suspend Rachel
Just me. She
based
has-
on the assumption that that's a true statement from Pam. And I don't think
You can't.
that's a
assume
course of
one way or
action
the
that
other.
would be prudent for us to take.
That's why we got lawyers and the audit's done through lawyers,
Highest opinion,
you know,
as far as
it's
that.
all done by lawyers.
Anybody,
The lawyers that come and said,
anybody who fails to do their job faces consequences. This was a complete
but this is
failure.
your
And the
decision.
fact that it was brought up in 2021, and she sat here in that meeting, basically telling Marty that he's full of crap.
But this
When it
is
was
your
brought to their
decision.
attention.
This is your decision.
This was brought to her attention in two thousand.
But this is your decision. The lawyers never come to it.
This, what,
The lawyers. The lawyers, who's in charge?
No,
what are you talking about?
Okay,
Don,
go ahead. Dave.
can I just state for the record though, just 1 second, is that we met with the investigator, very. Certified investigator from the State Board of Accounts and representation from the State Board of Accounts. And I just want to, for the record, they did not implicate the auditor. I mean, we got a report and the auditor was not implicated.
Right.
Otherwise,
There's
there's no
no-
different story. So I just want to make sure we don't state something in a public meeting that is not true. She was not implicated. There was one person who was implicated and that's it.
We'll state exactly what the report says, and the report says she was notified of these
We're not
purchases.
saying she wasn't notified.
Right, so until we know one way or the other, until we know the truth,
It says she was.
that's what I'm asking, is just until she is cleared or not.
With or without pay, Justin.
Without pay, obviously.
Take away her income on.
Yes, yes, I mean, yes, I don't feel bad.
Go ahead.
Whether this happened and she was told about it, or what I would think as an auditor in that position at that point in time, somebody doesn't accidentally purchase those items on a county credit card. Unless they're looking to fraudulently purchase those items. You don't accidentally go.
That wasn't, yeah, that's not even the real process.
It's obvious we don't want any accountability, so my second thing is I have been in contact with. The new auditor, the recorder. I have put in requests for certain emails. And these emails are no longer accessible. I spoke with the public access counselor who is involved with this email chain. And he has emails on his side. He pulled it up and he's asked me if I want a copy of it, but that's not the point. I want to know because nobody is giving me any reason whatsoever. The IT guy, Doug, trying to get the copy of this email. Stanley, I apologize, Doug, to try to get a copy of this email, and came up empty handed. So I want to know, is there any one certain person that has access to all email accounts? And for two, why am I not able to receive this email? Where is it?
Oh, one, there is one guy in charge, that's Stan.
Okay,
So, and if he can't get to him, I believe we can, but it costs about $2,000. You got that?
I put in the FOIA, I want the email in my hand. I'm not asking.
I just told you, if I go further,
It's
it's gonna cost $2,000.
and that's all I pay. That information has to be put in my hand.
Get it?
Yeah, $2,000 isn't required under the FOIL.
Get it?
Well,
So,
The $1 a page.
yeah,
That's the law.
so where's my email? Why is it not there? Your ID guy is right there.
Apparently,
Your ID, ask him, I'm not able to get my email.
because somebody got rid of
Who?
Who else has it?
whose computer was it?
Who else has
You're gonna
it?
say that for recorded.
I'm not saying that, I said whose computer.
You're gonna say that for recorded.
I said whose computer.
It's the recorders, is that what you're
There you
saying?
go.
Oh, so you're saying the recorders deleted her own email?
I'm not an IT.
Back up.
I am not an
Back up. You can't ban it completely.
Family, can you answer this?
But there are a lot of different phrasings of this question being thrown around here. I've attempted to assist in finding this email through Mandy's email. This was brought to my attention just last week, I believe, as far as trying to find the specific email.
I thought they was all missing.
I'm sorry, what?
I thought they was all missing. You said you're looking for one. Was not all her email gone?
No.
Okay.
No, as far as me trying to dig through our entire server to pull up this one email. I don't have the tools to do that currently. I could procure them. I mean, it's gonna be additional costs and everything, but along with the costs and the time constraints that I have, it's hard for me to find an email that I don't know that I'm looking for specifically in the first place.
Were you aware the email was missing before Justin requested it?
This was mentioned to me last week.
So you didn't know that
Were
any
you aware?
emails were missing prior to him requesting the deleted email?
I don't know. Can we ask?
Yeah.
Let's see, please ask what the emails are about, like, maybe we can answer the question.
You know, where this email. That the emails have to sit in the system for 3 years.
But what if,
So if-
that's the topic, maybe we can answer.
Know why the emails are being deleted. That's the topic. That's the question. Why are emails being deleted? And it's not just one email. There are several emails getting deleted. So I want to know why. I want to know who.
But I think we have to have a specific topic if we.
The emails to answer your question was around the tech committee question meetings, the tech committee meetings, and I believe Mandy had reached out to Luke Brett to understand whether or not those should be public. So those emails are missing. I know for the fact that other employees' emails have been reported missing. I know Stanley was asked about those emails by employees when they noticed that they were missing.
A lot of the concern of the missing emails that have been recently was due to a bug from a Microsoft update to
I was told
Windows
there was no
server.
I was told there was nothing wrong with the system. I have the email to prove it. There is nothing wrong with our system that would prevent you from receiving this email.
I'm sorry, you didn't get that email from me.
But
It's not what I said.
The auditor.
That's not what I had said.
But you should be able to see, like, so just to answer the question, which was that did Mandy delete the email? You should be able to see on our backups if somebody deleted the email off of their computer. Correct?
Complicated than that. I mean, you're looking at a batch, that's one file that contains hundreds of thousands of emails, and then you're trying to compare it to a current file that also has hundreds of thousands of email, and you're trying to compare the differences. There's
So-
hundreds of.
But it's a copy of a backup system, so that if somebody deletes an email, it can be found easy enough because of FOIA laws. I mean, if you have a ticked off.
That's what you will have to dig into
dump
more as
everything on
far
your
as
computer.
retention rules.
That's a problem if we don't have a backup system.
We've got a.
And I mean, we just asked about this 2 meetings ago, that we were, that we have all the required backup systems that we need.
Any more information without filling out.
So I mean, that's a
FOIA. But if we fill out FOIA, the information is still not getting in our hands.
Can I say something?
Was it on his computer?
I've been getting like about 100 emails a day since I've been here. How would you keep 3 years worth of 100 emails times 365 days times 3 years? Our server would be overloaded and we wouldn't have any room for anything else.
That's why we have backup. Yeah.
It's state
I
law.
think that's why.
We've still got passes.
So am I not gonna get any answers?
Not tonight, there's some more fast items that needs to take place.
It's Marcia.
More directed at Michaeline, Mr. Bedrock requested from Rachel. Probably in 2021 at this point. Copies of the biannual commissary report. That the sheriff's department was supposed to file in terms of how money was expended. I don't know if you've seen those or.
I have, and you called it the 2021?
Well, I'm saying that this is when he came to the commissioners in 2021 to talk about commissary issues. He had requested a report. Or how is that money accounted for within the auditor's office? And she said, well, we can't tell them how to spend it. But we get a semi-annual report, one like July 1st, and I did on December 31st.
I'll check to see if they're.
They were supposed to have submitted the sheriff's office as to how the monies were expended. And I believe the state statute reads, there are 8 categories for that the sheriff can use discretion on for expenditures of commissary money. But there is a 9th one. That they have to come to the commissioners and ask for appropriations if what they want to spend money on doesn't fall in one of those 8. So he was questioning the 9th one because he felt that there were some things that money was being spent on through the commissary that should have fallen under the 9 category where the commissioners needed to be, that needed to be brought to their number. So there should be semi-annual reports.
I'll look for them. I've got.
I mean, that's what he was told by Rachel.
Okay.
He went to get them and he she had to look at them. So. Then year was this part of
This is in 21.
2021.
It's the council, Michaeline, that has the authority on that. Yeah.
The council has the ability to pass a resolution, which they did, to say what is in category number 9, and all of the parameters are listed in the State Board of Accounts audit, what falls under category 9.
And that's what he was questioning, and then he came to the commissioners and that's when that caucus meeting took place.
He was shouted down and there was never, when I watched it, not the commissioners that shouted him down, but some from the back of the room. And the subject was changed, and then I don't know that.
There was never any.
So yeah, if Michaeline, if you do find those, or I know we've been emailing and corresponding, could you send me copies of those too? Thank you.
Man,
I just would like to, for the record, note that I sent an email to all of the commissioners, Stanley, Luke Britt, the auditor, my attorney, and Justin, on July 15th, stating that I noticed that my emails were missing.
what do you just want that on the record, you don't?
Yeah, because Stanley said it was only a week, so July 15th was part of it.
Referring to the specific email that we were looking for at the time.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Oh, one more question. From this point forward, you guys say that you want to move forward. What have you put in place as far as better procedures, better policies, better money control? Who's going to be governing more so of the spending? Obviously, now we have an attorney that can look over the contracts so that nothing is made like that.
Like David mentioned, we got one council on each, like the sheriff's department's got a council person, the highway's got a council person to help us keep control of the money.
In addition to the commissioner.
But
Yeah, I'm over
On behalf
the
of,
garage right now. Todd's out there working. with me.
it's a delegation of authority.
I get a report, I get a budget report every month. Or even sooner if I want to, so it's cast on hand to make sure they're not overspending their accounts. If they're not over appropriating any money.
And
She's
the
following.
sheriff
what I
In
said.
addition to, he said on behalf of.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm over the garage right now.
In addition to Todd.
He's actually over the garage, I'm just looking at their money. Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm
Got their own
advocating
people,
is
our own council.
take that internal controls manual, go through it, and you know, Charlie and I, we're two people. There's an entire county. I guess I would ask that you guys appoint maybe a committee made up of the one
We have an
commissioner
internal.
One council.
And
and who's on it, please?
is that the three of us and three others that we appoint?
And
I think it's,
lay people, right?
there's at least, or is it just one of us and two others? I don't recall the makeup of the board, I just recall making appointments to it. But we have. an internal-
Obviously, they're not doing much if you can't remember their names. Needs to be.
Appointed by someone else not on the committee. As more of a level playing field, because I think there's a lot of little boys.
Oh.
That's
When it comes to appointments, I mean, those live with folks sitting here, regardless.
That's unfair.
Want someone on that committee that has made a over $100,000 error on a contract because they didn't read annually versus monthly. I wouldn't want that person on that committee.
That's why, before I was interrupted, I was going to say perhaps there should be some citizens on it too, but they would need to be given the authority to investigate and to request documents from different departments. And then those departments would need to provide them. If, you know, if we have a committee made up of a commissioner, and this doesn't have to be the old one whose names we don't remember, that we can make a corrective internal procedure committee.
I don't know if there's, if there says who can be on that internal.
Right.
You know,
Well, it does talk in that manual about preventative measures, remedial measures, and then the statute does say they must take action based on those items in that audit. At least about the commissary funds, probably specifically, but we know that there are issues in other departments and other budgets, and I'm advocating for a much closer look by people outside of the departments and maybe outside, you know, like I said, one commissioner. It could be any council person. It doesn't have to be me, but I was volunteered, so that had, you know, fine with me. But an additional people on it.
It sounds like you and Charles are gonna start looking at this. I think for me as a citizen, what I'd like to see is at the next meeting. That maybe we get an update on where we're at with the conversations that you've had. I mean, we can't, again, I understand, we just got these.
so they can't be making decisions.
They can't do that
I
right.
mean, that's not. How we do it.
But I'm not saying.
We haven't had any meeting yet after this even look at it.
What I'm saying, Todd, is we're just looking for
Yeah.
updates, right? And I think that that's what we're looking for, Donnie and Charles and Mark is. To Tammy, I believe it is. I think what she's saying is, and what Mark was saying is, okay, so we're looking at taking some steps. So I think what we're asking for is that at the next council or commissioner meeting, that this doesn't go away, right? That we continue to hear what steps are we taking.
I guess the good thing is the audit we're looking at does not involve the sheriff we have now, does it?
Right.
No.
Oh, that's because we put in the controls to make that not happen. So there you go, we're on the right track.
And we can do internal
Well, the
audits.
voters
Every
did that.
office.
The voters did that. Yeah, we didn't.
Well, no, but we made sure that it didn't happen because we had somebody we could work with. That's not our. We're not the ones to put it in there. There's always room to improve.
You know, I mean, the reality is our paperwork is an issue. It's been an issue. We see it regularly. And, you know, this is just one more time that it added to the issue. So, I mean, I'm still waiting for paperwork. By the way, I meant to mention, I still don't have all the paperwork that's missing from the binders. So it's been over a month. I was told that day everything was there. And they absolutely know what I'm looking for and they still haven't been able to provide all of it, so.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Oh, you know what? Because I think Sarah has been getting it, because you weren't the auditor. Oh, I think Sarah has been. But absolutely, no, you're. But I get it off. The point is that I'm still waiting for paperwork that should have been there. And, you know, I'm waiting to hear from the surveyor still, and so I didn't even with them today. So, yes, I'm talking to them, absolutely. I just wanted you guys to know that I don't have all of the paperwork. And Justin was aware too. I included our attorney, so he was very aware of these.
And the next council meeting, they don't have time. These things you want like that.
Well, no, I know.
You gotta give them at least 2 months.
Again, I've always just said progress, right? I'm not looking for overnight change. So it sounds like we're making progress with looking into it. That's my ask. Is that we continue to do so and that we see it through.
Anybody else? Open the job.
Make that motion.
All in favor?
Right?